It's Backstage Pass with Steve Ryan. And here's your host, Steve Ryan.
Backstage Pass with Steve Ryan, and I am so thrilled today. This is a highlight of my week for sure. My guest today is part of a group that has been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Musicians Hall of Fame, the Grammy Hall of Fame, Songwriters Hall of Fame. It's had 4 #1 hits, 10 top 20 singles, 6 top 20 albums. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but I want to welcome Felix Cavaliere from the Rascals, the Young Rascals. He's been called the King of Blue-Eyed Soul. Felix, thank you so much for coming in today.
My pleasure. Good to see you.
Tell me about the Rascals, because I think that I'm a little bit younger than you. So when the Rascals had their first hit was the year I was born. And
wow.
but when I found you, I found the Rascals and the Young Rascals, and I couldn't figure out what the difference was. Can we go into that a little bit? I know there was a little bit of a conflict and you didn't want some confusion, but I think a lot of people aren't sure.
Well, it's all business related. Let me make a long story for you. When we first started, we didn't have a name. We kept trying to find a name. And we did this actually publicly. We did this in front of our audiences at the club we were playing at. So we decided we're going to go and you're familiar with Soupy Sales. You know the name?
Of course. Yeah.
Well, Soupy, we were big fans. He had a big hit called The Mouse. So we said, we got to find a way to get, discovered, so to speak. So we walked into WNEW television station and we requested an audience with Mr. Sales. Okay, so immediately he started making us laugh and screwing around with us. He said, "Hey, okay, everybody, grab your wallets." And so we started laughing, and then we told him, we said, "Look, Mr. Sales, we're here because you have a big hit record and you need a band." He says, "I do?" He says, "All these years I didn't have a band." I said, "Well, look, you go out to do a show. You want to sing the song, play the song? We'll play the song for you." So he said, what do you guys call yourself? We didn't have a name, So he proceeded to say, "Well, I know what I'd like to call you, but we couldn't put that on a marquee, I said, "Oh, great, So meanwhile, we're laughing. So he gave us this name, the Rascals. Okay. So now we think everything's cool. Now we not too long after that, we got a record deal with Atlantic Records. And we put out one song, and I believe it was the Rascals was on the, and then all of a sudden we put out our second record, which was Good Lovin'. And we were in California promoting the record out in the Whiskey A Go-Go. And I get a call from my manager, Sid Bernstein, rest his soul. "Hey, lad, we got a problem with the name Rascals." "What's the problem?" See, now you're too young, but Milton Berle had a television show, which everybody knows.
I know Milton Berle. Yeah.
And he had a group on there called the Harmonica Rascals. So they had priority to the name Rascals. So he kind of panicked. And he said, "So Sid, decided to name your child the Young Rascals." Well, listen, man, like a group's name it's almost as bad as trying to name it. Somebody else names your kid for you, I didn't like it. We didn't like it, and I try to make it funny now by saying, "Well, you remember the Little Rascals, So throughout our career, the beginning there, we were all getting harassed by, did that dog really have a circle around his eye, So, so I said, "Look, after we had a big hit record, I said, sue us, which was fateful words in those days. We're changing the name." And I never realized that, it was going to cause a little bit of confusion as to, like the public and the record bins where they used to put your name. But I mean, like I say, he should never have done that. You know what I mean? He should have called us up and say, "Hey, call us the Pink Rascals, but please." So anyway, that's what happened.
Yeah. You guys were just teenagers at the time, right?
Pretty much. Yeah. We were pretty young,
Yeah.
I had
Very determined.
Well, those years were really very, very amazingly pregnant with kind of like naivete and kind of desire because of those gentlemen that came from overseas, the Beatles and the Stones and the Kinks. I We could do this. Why not? Let's start a band. Let's go. Come on. Let's go get it. That's
Yeah,
the beauty of youth, you know?
right. Yeah, you're fearless. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Why not?
Yeah, I know we have a limited amount of time, but I've got a lot. It's not like you can just talk to you, Felix, and keep it really limited. I mean, your catalog is so extensive, and so I want to go over a few of the things. And of course, I think
Sure.
Good Lovin' was the one that really put you guys on the
One,
map.
two, three. Good love, good love, good love, good love. I was feeling so bad. I asked my family doctor just what I had. I said, Doctor, doctor, Mr. MP, doctor. Now can you tell me what's ailing me, doctor? He said, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yes, indeed. All I really need. Good love. Now give me that good, good love.
Number one song in '66. I had read that that was actually, and tell me if this is true, was that a live recording?
Well, not really a live recording. It was in a studio, but being that we were a band that worked, live, so to speak, it was just really turn on the microphones and let them play. That was a take or two, you know, and so in essence, it was like a non-overdubbed recording. Yes.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And it just because it has that energy that a lot of times you can't capture, outside of a live setting. And so when I read that, it kind of made sense to me.
Well, we really we had this drummer, rest his soul, Dino Danelli, who the word energy applies. I mean, he was like, it was like you're standing, in front of a train. Either I move or he's going to run me over. The energy part of our band, especially since we came from the East Coast, which is a, a more energetic coast. There's no question about it. We had a lot of energy. If you see our Ed Sullivan shows and our performances, we pushed it pretty hard.
I was going to ask you about Ed Sullivan. Is that when you're booked to the Ed Sullivan show, is that when you know you've made it as a band?
Well, you're on your way to making it, because that it's a big help, obviously, that audience in those days was huge, and it was kind of a stepping stone to becoming successful. Yes.
Right. I had read that that Good Lovin' is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame of one of 500 songs that shaped rock and roll.
Amazing, man. I tell you, from the moment we started playing that song in front of people, they jumped out of their seats and danced. And to
Yeah.
this day, which is many years after, it still happens.
Yeah, it's one of those songs when I mean, it's kind of it's lasted, it's stood the test of time. And when it comes on, I mean, you just turn it up and hopefully you're in the car driving and it's a summer day and you roll down the windows.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of those days. The music business was so different then than it is now, and I mean, it's been changed to basically a corporate disaster as far as I'm concerned. And the amount of money that it takes to be in the music business now, unless you really go independent and small stations, etc., and you hit a viral, kind of feed on one of the internet, it's really, really, very different.
Right. Yeah. And then you wrote a song. The next hit you had was "I've Been Lonely Too Long."
I've been lonely too long. I've been lonely too long. In the past they've come and gone. I feel like I can't go on without love. Been lonely too long. I've been lonely too long.
And that was a top 20 hit, and you wrote that. Tell us about that.
Well, after Good Lovin', we said, look, we our peers, and I use that word with all due respect, they're all writing their own songs. Let's get to work. let's get to work. Let's try it. I had already been writing songs, but we were not allowed to use them, in the nightclubs. They only really required what they call top 40, or songs that you could find. So long story short, we started writing. Well, okay, that's not that easy, especially when you've got, these songwriters across the sea that are pretty darn good. So our first records, they did okay. We had You Better Run. I think we had Come On Up, you know. But when I've Been Lonely Too Long came along, thank God, uh, we scored. We did very well. That opened the door for us to write and to kind of like be involved in the composing part of it. Because, the record company, I mean, they're looking for hits. They're not trying to make you into a songwriter or anything like that, a producer. So we got very, very, very fortunate that the songs were accepted by the public.
Yeah. And then came along Groovin', which was,
Right.
I mean, huge. I mean, it just,
Yeah.
and it also was one of the songs that's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has listed as,
Right.
500 songs that have shaped rock and roll. But I had heard that Atlantic didn't originally want to release that.
Well, there's a very interesting relationship between the record companies and the artists through the years. I mean, there should be books written about how many times they've made the wrong decision. Like for example, the famous story of turning down the Beatles on Decca. I don't think they're going to do it. No one really knows, without marketing tests, et cetera, what's a hit and what's not a hit. The problem with Groove in the eyes of the record company was that we were supposedly a rock and roll band at that time, and there were no drums. There was a conga, and they said, "What are you guys doing? What are you doing?" Well, he was wrong, and the story about it is really cool because there was a DJ in those days by the name of Murray the K. Murray the K was a huge WINS DJ who became the fifth Beatle. I mean, he was really popular. He happened to be in the studio when we recorded that song, Groovin'. He was a
Wow.
friend, and it is and was and always will be very important to get your song on the radio. I mean, you get your song on the radio, at least you've got a chance. Well, he happened to come into Jerry Wexler's office when I was having my discussion with him about releasing the song. He said, "I'll put that on the radio today." And Jerry said, "Like I say, I like that song a lot."
Groovy on a Sunday afternoon. Really couldn't get away too soon. I can't imagine anything that's better. The world is ours whenever we're together. There ain't a place I like to be instead of moving.
Well, and Groovin', I mean, the title fits the song so well. It's just kind of this laid back groove to it. Where did that come? You wrote that song. Where did that come from for you?
Well, growing up like near New York City, we have had in the past and present huge Latin population, huge. So that music, and then also when I worked at the beginning of my career, I started up in the Catskill Mountains. Latin music was always popular. So that beat, that Bayonne beat, just it was part of me,
Yeah.
And the story behind the song is it's kind of like a cute one. I say this on stage now, but basically musicians, we work on the weekends. We work on Friday and Saturday night. And I use it as my shtick on stage. I've never met a woman that liked that idea. They don't like the fact that they're home and you're out. So I had a very, very important relationship in my life at that time. And I the only way you're going to get to them is you say, "Hey, I love you" in a song. So basically grooving on a Sunday afternoon means, okay, we may not have Friday and Saturday, but we got Sunday.
But we have Sunday. Wow,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. I love that story.
Yeah.
And then How Can I Be Sure came out, and I had heard that you guys were a little hesitant with that at first, but I had read that you figured if the Beatles could do Michelle and Yesterday, you could do a song like that.
Well, it wasn't so much the hesitancy. I think the real explanation is that people don't realize the doors that the Beatles opened for us with their music. You know, if they had not done Yesterday and Michelle, I don't know if we would have been able to get that on the radio.
How can I be sure in a world that's constantly changing? How can I be sure where I stand with you? Whenever I'm away from you, I wanna die, 'cause you know I wanna stay with you. How do I know? Maybe you're trying to use me. Flying too high can confuse me. Touch me, but don't take me down. Whenever
But because there was a kind of like a aforementioned song that had this kind of like "Been down my bill,"
Right.
we could do it. They opened these doors that were slammed shut prior to that. I
Yeah.
mean, Dylan too. Dylan comes out with a 20-minute song.
Right. Right. And then, lo and behold, you write another million seller, A Beautiful Morning, which I love.
Thank you,
And
thank you. Yes,
that's kind of closer to grooving. It's kind of in between grooving and People Gotta Be Free, I guess,
yeah,
mid-tempo. Tell me about A
yeah.
Beautiful Morning.
Well, again, like most of the time when a song is written, it's it's kind of like a template of your emotions at the time. And here we are coming off this grooving big hit. We happen to be in Hawaii. We had a number one song. What's to not be happy about? I mean, and not only that, you look out the window and you see paradise. So that was written in paradise.
it's a beautiful morning, I think I'll go outside for a while and just smile, just taking some clean, fresh air. For no sense in staying inside. If the weather's fine and you got the time, it's your chance to wake up and plan another brand new day. Either way, it's a beautiful morning.
That's a great story too. So you wrote that in Hawaii.
Yeah,
Perfect.
we always tried to find an excuse to stay in Hawaii. Well, I'll bring my keyboard and write.
Right. I write it off.
That's it.
And yeah. And then uh, People Gotta Be Free. I mean, that was a number one song. But that's kind of a departure, and it's a pretty serious lyric. Tell me what
Serious, but
was that?
excuse
I'm
me.
sorry, I was just going to say, is that the times? I mean, it was 1968. I mean, there were some things happening in the country,
Correct.
and so is that where that lyric comes from?
I was working for Robert Kennedy's campaign, and I was seeing a lady at the time who was present at the assassination. And I happened to be on vacation. I was actually in Jamaica, and in those days I had a shortwave radio, and I heard on the radio about this horrible event. He won the primary, and they killed him in a hotel ballroom. It just really freaked me out. I mean, probably as most people who are involved in some sort of campaign, you get pretty wrapped up in it. I just said, I've got to say something. I've got to say something. We've got to do something heartfelt. I mean, there's tears in our eyes. I mean, we'll never know what the story would have been had he lived. You know, we'll never see that, which is, I guess, what they wanted to happen. So that was a really straight, right out of the soul, right out of the heart song.
All the world over so easy to see. People everywhere just wanna be free. Listen, please, listen, that's the way it should be. Peace in the valley, people got to be free.
And people felt it. I mean, it's a gold record. It sold over 4 million copies. I mean, it was a big record.
And even more importantly, it was a hit in places throughout the world, such as in those days, Berlin and Hong
Right.
Kong, in South Africa, where the people were oppressed. They got the message.
Yeah. So who were your influences when I mean we talked about the Beatles, but I mean because I think that you guys do rock and roll certainly, but you have a little more of grooving to your sound. So when you're who did you really influence you as a songwriter besides the Beatles,
Well, you know, I just put out an album which is called Then and Now.
right?
And what I decided to do with this album was to put 5 influenced songs, such as Benny King, Spanish Harlem, Higher and Higher, Jackie Wilson, Ray Charles, Mary Ann, et cetera, and re-record them and write 5 new ones to show the influence. I grew up near New York City, and we had this disc jockey by the name of Alan Freed, who brought rock and roll from Cleveland to New York. So I was there at the inception. I heard this phenomenal music coming across the air, and I had never heard anything like it. So when you ask my influences, I could be here in half an hour and tell you how many people. You know, it starts because of the fact I was a keyboard player. So I heard Fats Domino, Jerry Lee Lewis, uh, Ray Charles, and I say that with emphasis. Never heard anything like that. And then
Yeah.
I heard these singers, Marvin Gaye, Smokey Robinson, Benny King, these Moonglows, the Heartbeats, the Flamingos. Wow. You know,
Yeah.
you're so influenced, you don't even know where to begin, you know? And it goes on and on and on. And then I heard about this fellow by the name of Berry Gordy who produced. What is produced? What does that mean? I want to learn what it means to be a producer. You know, it was an exciting time to be a sponge to all of the things that were happening, even before the Beatles and the English invasion. Rock and roll was a big, big, big thing in my life.
Yeah. You talk about the new album, Then and Now. I was listening to it last night, and it's kind of got this late 60s, early 70s vibe to it that I really like. You don't hear it as often as I would like to. And you know, you do your version of Your Love Keeps Lifting Me Higher is fantastic.
I tell you, your love keep on lifting me. It keep lifting me higher and higher. Said your love.
But the two cuts that really stuck out to me were the first 2 cuts on the album, Slip Away and Along the Way.
I need you, darling. I want to see you right now. Can you slip away? Slip away. Slip away. Oh, I need you so.
And
Oh, good.
I love the feel of those. Are we gonna, when you're touring pretty soon, are you gonna be playing those
Yeah.
songs?
I would like to, you know, and then it comes to me, I always remember Ricky Nelson's garden party, you know. Can I do these? I mean, hey, you think I can get away with playing? Yeah, if the set time requires gives us a little extra time, maybe an encore, something like that. Yeah, because I realize what people come out to hear, you know, they want to hear the songs that they grew up on. But we're definitely going to try to put some of those in the set. Yes.
Yeah, well, I hope people who are watching this will go to, you know, wherever they listen to their music of me and check out. It's called Then and Now. All the tracks are great. It's got a great 60s, 70s feel to it, but look for Slip Away and Along the Way, which really were standout cuts for me.
Well,
Tell me
good.
about the tour. Tell me about the tour that's coming up.
Well, we're back to work. We've had a really interesting time with COVID. That's when that album was done, when we were all locked up. Just anxious to get back out there, and hopefully our audiences are healthy and well and feel safe to come out. And, we're looking forward to, to just entertaining, bringing our message, just kind of let everybody know we're going to be all right, man. I mean, like I say, it's pretty tough out there right now for a lot of people, and I think that the Rascal music always has had a calming effect and kind of like a it's okay effect, because it's going to be okay. And I think it's important for us to be out there spreading that message right now. We just finished a song, which I think I can publicize now. The Rascals were huge in Hawaii. We wrote a song years ago called My Hawaii, which was a major, major top 1 to 10 hit for a long time. I just did a duet with Dolly Parton to raise some money for the Lahaina Maui tragedy. It's just, you got to give back a lot, because look what people have done for us. I mean, they've kept us going for all these years, still going, a lot of years after.
Where can people find that? Is it out and available yet, or is it coming?
It should be, as I speak, it should be available shortly. It's March right now. Hopefully March is the date.
Nice. Nice. Where can people go to look at the tour schedule and see if you're coming anywhere near them so they can come and watch the show?
Well, right now I have a site called FelixCavalieremusic.com, It's really interesting out there. The internet is the way to communicate with people, and somebody stole my name and put a website on. How about that? But Felix Cavaliere Music is mine. So yeah, it's funny that they get your name and then they hold it. And you want to buy it back? Or can I buy my name back? I don't know. Let's see. Let me ask my father.
Yeah. Oh, that's correct. Okay.
What a world.
Well, Felix Cavaliere, what a world. I'm talking to Felix Cavaliere. I mean, it's made my day. It's made my year for sure. I'm a huge fan. I love your music. I love what you've done in the past, and I love the new album. And keep on trucking. And I hope that we'll be able to talk again sometime in the future as you're doing new projects, and maybe I'll catch you on the road if you come anywhere near where I am. But I really appreciate you taking some time today.
I enjoy it, Steve, and I look forward to meeting you in person.
I kept you a little longer than I promised.
Oh, no problem. Please, I enjoyed every moment of it. Thank you.
I hope we do meet again, and I enjoyed the conversation.
Let's make it happen. Thank you, Steve. Have a good day. See you.
You too. All right. Bye-bye.
For questions or comments, email Steve at steveryan.songoftheday@gmail.com.